Hey guys, Colton here from the Eevee Kingdom, and welcome to a brand new What If. That what if being, what if Weiss was a Faunus? And before anyone says, no, she does not have ears. I have to mention this because I'm planning on her having tail. Well, having a snow leopard tail. It's just when I tried looking it up and finding a good image for it, I didn't really have the best luck. I found one, but it didn't look well while I was trying to... Well, when I was comparing this picture and that picture, this one just looked better on the screen. And in my opinion. And at least shows the change. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with this, but she has a tail, for context. Whew. Anyways. Yes. If you've seen the poll I made in my community post a while ago, about whether or not she would know Blake, I will get to that later, but that will be playing a part at this point. And sorry if I end up coughing, sneezing, or doing something. I might have a cold, or it could be allergies. So, apologies ahead of time. Anyways. Yeah. Now, how am I going to start this what if? Well, unlike the other RWBY what ifs I've done, many people actually done this one. So, I do have a stepping stool for what I can do. The only problem with it is some of them only did either one part or just a brief summary of what would happen. And I'll be honest, I only seen one video. But it's from someone who also had a ongoing RWBY series with Yang being a Saiyan, so I can, from watching their videos, they at least do research. Yeah. So I can at least follow that somewhat. And the main thing he mentioned was how he started. Yeah, how he started the what if. I want to play around with this idea a little bit. Sorry. I want to see what would change if it wasn't a one-night stand, but just natural. So I'm actually going to have Willow's grandmother be a Faunus. We at least know from Ice Queendom and some of the canon that Weiss's grandfather was the one that founded the Schnee Dust Company. And from Ice Queendom, we at least know she got to meet her grandfather at least once. Other than that, I don't really know how much she knows of her grandparents. And we don't really know her grandmother either, so... Yeah, I'm just gonna say, from somehow, some way, some divine intervention, in Weiss's grandfather had feelings and had a kid with a Faunus. Now, what happened to her? Or after that, you can throw your own interpretation in it, but the one I'm gonna go with is he died a little bit after birth. And he just kept the secret of who his mistress was. As from the public. Because Atlas is still one of the places that has the most hate for Faunus. Now, we skipped all the way to Weiss's birth because Willow's not going to change whatsoever in winter. Despite the situation, is still winter. And I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if Jock would even be at Weiss's birth. I mean, he was annoyed with Winter for not wanting to follow his orders. And even joining the military. But that would be later. But, again, I don't know. No, for all I know, he would be For all I know, he would end up being at a fancy party, rubbing elbows with other fancy men. And for the company, he's sake. But all I do want to know is, all I do know is Weiss is born with her snow leopard tail. And Willow sees this, thinks back, and after realizing she was not drunk with any Faunus nearby, she would call her grandfather, and her grandfather would explain how he met her mother. In one long TV series story, later, Willow ends up awestruck and just stunned. She has no clue what to say. But she does at least know Weiss has to hide her tail from her father. Now, I do want to mention that they hide it rather than Jock finding out normally. It's just my entire belief that Jock would more than likely throw them out if he has any reason to. I mean, he did say in Weiss's story that he only married Willow for the family name and company. So to me, I just feel like he would probably throw them out if he had no reason and to keep them around. And Weiss, being the heiress, was the only reason she was even paid any attention. So yeah, they keep this from Jock for years. Now, who all besides Willow knows about Weiss's heritage and her tale? Winter, definitely. I mean, they are sisters, and I think Weiss would trust her enough, and after Willow explains everything to Winter, there's gonna be a lot of W names in this. Bear with me. Winter would understand and at least be okay with it. Plus the fact that she could have been a Faunus, it kind of brings perspective to her. And Clyde, or the butler. I forget his name. I think it's Clive. I'm gonna call him Clive. If I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments. I will stop calling him Clive. But he is still a cool butler. I believe he would know and not care about Weiss's heritage. Considering her, and he's just the best. Anyways, years would pass and Weiss would mostly be hiding her tail from her father, many of the servants, and if she ever gets out in public, from all of them. But due to Weiss being naturally born a Faunus and not just a secret love child or a drunk accident, Weiss is looking at the world a little bit differently. Now, by the time Volume 1 happens, she will still be a snob. But he would at least care about other people. So, by the time RWBY would blow up, Weiss would, instead of just chewing her out for her stupidity, she would ask if RWBY is okay, make sure she's safe and not injured, and then start to chew her out. Again, still a snob, but she's at least considerate. And this is... I'm gonna say she's at least Yang's, or maybe a little older than Yang is by her, by Yang's exploration in attempt to a barn. So around 5, 6 or so. It's really hard to tell how old they are in flashbacks. So, yeah, I'm only assuming. So if I'm wrong on the age, just let me know. But at this point, I do think Weiss would be out one day with Winter just getting groceries, as Weiss ends up hearing a protest. Her curiosity, being a child, would at least go over to see what's going on. Seeing that it's involving Faunus, her newfound understanding. Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that. Weiss having Faunus DNA in her family's bloodline at this point, she's a little bit more respective of the Faunus. So, unlike Jock, who just hires them because easy way to not pay much, Weiss at least tries remembering their name, asking them how they're doing, and all of that. Winter, she's still gonna be around them, but also treat them with a little more respect. Willow, she would at least try remembering their names. And for any Faunus working under the Schnee Dust Company during Jock's era, that's the best they got. Sadly. At least Weiss is being nice to them, so compensation. Whitley is still born and still the same person. And no change there. But back to where I was before rambling on. Weiss goes and sees a Faunus protest. This is the White Fang. Now, I did want to mention this. I did state it in the community post that I was debating on whether to do this or something else. And more of you voted for this. So if you don't like it, I did offer, and I did mention I was of two minds. If you still don't like it and want it to be changed, just let me know. I'll have to do a 0.5 video for this to implement the change. And yeah, I'll have to do a lot of work. But I will if you guys want me to. But for right now, at least hear me out. And, back to the plot. Weiss is listening and honestly resonating me a little bit. Again, she is a Faunus in this point, and despite being a part of the higher class, she is still hiding herself from even them. And her own father, so she can at least relate. And she meets a girl around her age with black hair, amber eyes, and cat ears. Weiss, being curious, wears something over her head to hide her hair, and wanting to fit in, takes her tail out and walks over to them. And they're pretty nice to her, especially with her tail out. Even the young girl starts talking to her, and they just hit it off a little bit after that. Weiss is obviously still in Atlas, but whenever the White Fang held protests over there, I'm guessing they'd done protests for a while, Weiss would at least join in and occasionally, or just hang out with Blake. And I do believe over time, Weiss would feel guilty about lying and tell Blake at least that she's, her family, his name. Blake, obviously being betrayed, feeling betrayed, would leave, have a talk with her father. Her father being the more reasonable man and also believing through talking things out and diplomacy, conflicts can be averted. Blake would at least hear Weiss out, and after that, I think their relationship would start strengthening again, and no longer hiding secrets from each other. And the fact that Weiss can now afford, or at this point, food. So Blake and her can get fish ramen. Which I do want to mention. I think it would just be a cute moment where them still hanging out as younger children. And just going to a store and buying fish. It's just to eat. It would be cute. But yeah, we keep going further. Adam eventually comes up, and Weiss and Blake get into an argument over how they believe things should go. Blake did believe in what Adam was doing was right, or at least a little bit justified. Now, knowing Ichni herself, well, she's less inclined to just go murder her happy on them, like Adam is. Again, don't like the guy, but I have ideas. Anyways, yeah, they do get in a fight, and they haven't seen each other by Volume 1 at this point. Weiss, still believing in what what Blake's father believed in, would at least want to hear Blake out a little more, or now that she had time to calm down on and think rationally on what's going on. The white thing still changes, and I'll at least say Blake having a friend and who is a Faunus and a Chni is less inclined to just follow Adam's orders all the time. And if she does, she's at least going to knock people out, not killing them. Adam, he would still be killing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So the White Fangs still have their anger towards the Fauna, well, anger towards the Chinese. Jock is annoyed with the Faunus interventions. A lot of panic is still going on, and everything still goes around the same. And basically, we get to Volume 1, and here's where we get the most changes. So far. As I already mentioned, the RWBY situation would be a little bit different. Weiss would at least ask if she's okay before chewing her out. And here is where Blake and Weiss meet again. Now, they obviously don't mention that they knew each other from the Fang or anything. It's just they haven't seen each other for years, and they're too awkward to mention it, so Weiss just leaves. And Blake gives a small explanation of who the Chinese are to RWBY before leaving. And again, being awkward. And everything else would still go around the same. And at that point, Weiss is still her snobby self. And telling them to sleep later on. But when she sees that they're talking to Blake, she's a little bit more timid and nervous. RWBY does note this and tries breaking the ice for everyone, and by introducing them with Blake saying, "No, we already know each other. Don't we, Snow Kitten?" I believe they would have nicknames. Again, they're friends. Or at least were. I like the idea of them having nicknames. Am I going to fanfic territory? I don't know. This what if idea really stumps me. So, well, I'm gonna get off track a little bit again, but if you have any suggestions to help this What If series get it better than what I'm possibly having planned for it, let me know. Oh, this one, there's too many ideas. Anyways, Blake does mention that they already know each other, making the conversation more awkward. the light turns out and we get to the forest. And I'm just gonna end it after this because there's not gonna be many more changes afterwards. So the forest stuff will still happen. RWBY, he still gets paired up with Weiss. Blake still pairs up with Yang. They all fight together. Blake and Weiss are awkward around each other, but they're still fighting, so there's no complaints about what's going on. And they do still make it out, become Team RWBY, all that happens. And the John stuff is still John stuff, so I'm not gonna mention it. But the one thing I will mention is when they're talking about Carden bullying John and then seeing him bully Velvet, Blake and Weiss are both angry at him for actually the same reason. And the RWBY stuff would still happen with Weiss. Again, she is still a snob, even if she's a little bit more considerate. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here. That's a lot of talking, and I really need to plan out my thoughts better for the next part. I planned this out already, but I just started rambling on at points. My bad. And I don't want to try this again. I'll try redoing this again right now. I promise the next video will be better. Or if you didn't think it was good with this one. So, anyways, I hope you're all doing well. Well, Christmas is pretty soon, so expect something for that video. And I will see you all in the next video. Now make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. So you never miss another video and help spread the word of the channel. And we'll see you all later. And hopefully I just do better. Bye.